Hello, TK and kindergarten. Welcome to today's visual arts lesson. This week, you've been learning all about Baroque art. Baroque art puts emphasis on imagination. So that's what I'm really going to want you to use during today's video. Today, we are going to use our imagination to create a dreamy sky scene. Now, today I'm going to show you a really cool technique called, it's a crayon relief technique, and this works best with crayons and watercolors. Now, if you don't have watercolors, you could do this entire thing with crayons or markers, and that's fine. But if you have crayons and watercolors, this will be super, super cool. So, what I'm gonna start out with is a white crayon. Now, it's gonna be hard to see it on your piece of paper. It's gonna look like it's gonna have like kind of a hard time showing up, but it's going to magically reappear once we end up painting it. So I'm gonna add some clouds, and how I'm gonna do that is I'm just gonna do little C shapes. I'm actually gonna show you an example of how to do that with a regular color on this piece of paper, but we're not doing it with a regular color. I'm just drawing it so you know how to do the shapes. So we're gonna do cloud just like this, C shapes over and over and over. But remember, you're doing that with your white crayon. So one more time, just like this with your white crayon. You can do as many as you want on your piece of paper. And like I said, it's kind of hard to show up. I'm sure you can't see it on the camera. I have to actually look very close at my paper to be able to see where they are. And also, I think it would look cool if you colored them in. So I'm gonna do my best to color them in white as well. So yeah, I'm just adding my white clouds and I'm creating my dreamy sky scene. And adding white clouds all over. I'm just coloring them in best I can. And what's so cool is when we add our watercolors, it's just gonna magically make them appear. And that's the crayon relief technique. Oops, my crayon broke in half. I pushed a little too hard. So just adding clouds. Right now I'm on cloud number 5. And remember, this is what our clouds are supposed to look like. Just a bunch of C shapes over and over and over. For our magical sky scene. It's going to look very dreamy. In my opinion, clouds are very dreamy, just like Baroque art, and it requires us to use our imagination. We have to imagine what these clouds are gonna look like before we actually get to see them revealed. I have 6 clouds so far. I'm gonna add number 7. I think I might have 9 clouds when I'm finished. Cloud number 8. And remember, if I'm moving too quickly for you, you can always pause the video, rewatch things that don't make sense and rewind it and catch up and not move on until you're ready. Okay, I have my 9 clouds. I filled up my background pretty much with just clouds. Now, I'm going to take my watercolors, get out my paintbrush and some water, because you need lots of water to use your watercolors. Now, if you do not have watercolors, you're gonna have to take extra time to look at where your white crayon is and color around your white crayon using different colors. But if you have watercolors, this will make it extra, extra pretty. So what we're gonna do is, this is our imagination sky. So normally when we think of a sky, we just think of it as just a blue color. But this imagination sky is going to have tons and tons of different colors because it is a magical sky. So I'm gonna start with my personal favorite color. Why don't you pick your favorite color too? I'm actually gonna put a piece of paper underneath mine because I don't want to paint on my table. Oops, I flicked some color onto my paper already. That's okay. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna take this color and I'm just gonna put it along the top. And look at, oh, as it hits that crayon, the wax in the crayon is showing through. This looks a lot cooler too once it's all dried. So we're just doing one color along the top. Then you're picking your next color. I'm gonna do a light blue. And we're blending that in because we're having our imagination sky. And look at that, look how cool it is. Our clouds are starting to show up just like magic. And I'm gonna take some extra water. I'm gonna clean my brush and I'm gonna use water just to blend those colors together just a little bit better. We're blending our colors together. And we're just gonna do that. We're gonna pick different colors every time to have our magical sky background. I'm gonna go with purple this time. And we're just doing one stripe at a time, slowly revealing. Beautiful, beautiful clouds. And I'm again clean my paintbrush off and I'm going to take just some plain water and blend those colors together so the blue and the purple kind of flow seamlessly into each other. And if your white clouds aren't looking super bright, I can see on my camera some of it is having a little bit harder time than others showing up. Once your color dries, the bright white will show through a lot better. And the harder you press with your white crayon, the easier it's gonna show through. I'm gonna go with, I think, green next. And I know what you're thinking, Miss Gutierrez, green is not usually in the sky, but that's okay, because this is a sky from our imagination. And again, we're cleaning off that paintbrush and using just plain water to blend those colors together. And if you are using crayons or markers for this, remember that you're not going on top of the clouds. You're going around the clouds to do your colors. And if you are using markers, just regular markers like this, you can use just plain water and actually a plain water and a paintbrush and blend the colors together. So that's another option too. If you're using markers and you have water and a paintbrush, but you don't have watercolors, that's fine. You can just use water to blend your markers because they are water soluble markers, which means that the ink bleeds when you add water. Okay, next we're gonna go with this orange color. And remember, you don't need to copy the colors I'm using. I want you to use whatever colors you are seeing that you think you want to be in your imagination sky. Because this is your masterpiece and your choice, and it's up to you what it looks like. And remember, I'm taking that just plain brush cleaned off with water and blending those colors together. Okay, next I'm gonna go in with yellow. Yellow, yellow, yellow. And we're just doing skinny stripes of color so that we can have our, it's almost like a rainbow sky, it kind of looks like. Add that water to blend it all in together. Yellow and orange blend together pretty well though. Next, I'm gonna do this magenta color. It's like a bright pink. And look at that magical cloud just shining through. So cool. And I gotta clean my brush off with some water, blend it together. Gonna move my little paper underneath it so I don't get paint at the bottom of my table. Next, I'm going in with this turquoise teal color. Ooh, very bright. Seems like the brighter, darker colors help the clouds show up a little bit better. Imagine if the sky actually looked like this. It would be so beautiful. The sky was just filled with all kinds of beautiful colors. All right, next I'm gonna go in with, ooh, I've already done purple. I don't wanna do the same color again. I'm gonna go in this color, it's kind of like a bluish color, but it's called periwinkle, is like the actual name of it. Can you guys say periwinkle? It's kind of a silly word, kind of a silly color, but that's its name. There are many different colors in the rainbow. And we're just working on making sure we're doing straight, horizontal lines in skinny sections. We're using the water to blend it. And we're gonna do one last color. What will I choose? I think I'm gonna finish it off with red. I haven't done any red yet. And remember, I know I'm probably moving very quickly. Take your time with what you're doing. There is no need to rush through this activity at all. Now, you could be finished with just this. I think it looks beautiful. But if you want to take your imagination further, you can use some watercolors to add some additional details to your sky. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my black watercolor and I'm gonna start adding some swirly colors or swirly lines throughout my art piece. And it's cool because it kind of bleeds with like the water of the watercolor. I'm re-outlining one of the clouds. I'm adding maybe some wind. Maybe there's some wind in the sky. Maybe in this art piece, since remember we're using our imagination and we can be creative as possible, there are flowers in this sky. We're adding flowers maybe. Or maybe even though it's daytime, there are somehow stars in the sky. And you don't have to do the color black. I used to color black. You could use other colors too. We could add in some blue to go with it. You can just add it to your lines. You can add whatever colors you want. So this art piece isn't supposed to be realistic. It's kind of abstract. An abstract image doesn't look like something in real life. It looks like something that comes from our brain that we make up. And you can just add whatever you want to your sky, like I said, or if you liked it plain with just the clouds, you could just leave it like that too. Maybe this cloud's a little bit more pink. Maybe we're adding some more pink to this cloud. Maybe there's some more stars over here. Ooh, I added a lot of water. That is bleeding a lot, but that's okay. It's okay if it's not perfect. It's kind of cool the way it fades into the watercolor. Now you could also be doing this with a marker as well if you don't have watercolors. I don't know how well it would work with crayons, layering with crayons on top, but with the markers it looks pretty cool. You could add some hearts in the sky. You could add whatever you want. To our magical skyline. You could add different types of lines, wiggly lines, zigzag lines, or different shapes, like a triangle or a square. It's all up to you how your magical sky turns out. Mine kind of looks like a bunch of doodles all over, but I think it's fun. You just can keep adding details to your own magical sky scene. Well, I had fun with today's video. We got to be very creative and dreamy and do whatever we wanted to our magical sky scene. I really look forward to seeing what your art piece looks like. I bet it looks absolutely magical. I will see you guys next time for our next visual arts meeting. Bye guys.